Hello, my name is Carl Surrey and this is a video tutorial for the Facebook group called Fans of Serif Software. Now, a while ago, Anne Harrison left a message on the Facebook group asking about this video tutorial here about making this film strip. The only problem was it's a German tutorial and she was having trouble following what to do and wanted to know if I could help in any way. Now, I don't speak German, but I sort of slowly, I kept pausing it and watching where the cursor was moving to, and trying to follow and copy it as best I can. So it may not be a 100% perfect copy of the tutorials, because there are certain points when the cursor stops moving and the gentleman is just talking away. He could be talking about the weather for all I know, or he could be saying something really important that I'm going to miss out because I have no idea what it was said. Now, I have contacted the gentleman and I did ask him if I could make copies, sort of convert it into English. But as yet I've not heard back from him, so I've not heard whether I can or whether I can't. So I'm just going to sort of push ahead and hopefully he will answer by the time I've finished making these 3 videos. And this will be the introduction to all 3 videos, so you will have to watch this bit again or just skip it when you come to part 2. Now, the originals are made by Affinitytutorials, and you can find them on YouTube. You can just do a search in YouTube for Affinitytutorials. It's all one word, and as you can see here, there are 3 videos that show you how to make this image. They are also on Facebook. So again, you can do a Facebook search for Affinitytutorials, and again you can watch the originals, especially if you speak German, and follow them that way. Now, there are some things that you will need in this whole process. One of them is some Bokeh brush tips, which is these blurry background circles here. In the video he has them already installed and he's using them, but in my PC version of Affinity Photo there are no such brushes. So what I did originally was I made my own, and I've made a short video. I say short, it's 14 minutes long, about making a very simple Bokeh brush tip. So you can search for that and you can install it into Affinity Photo and use it later on in this set of videos. After I made this, I did find some free ones. There's 24 abstract Bokeh brushes, free to download, and I've tried them and they work in Affinity Photo, and I did use them in my second test run of these videos, and I will be using them in this set of videos I'm making now. So you can either make your own, either by following my video back here, or what might be better, as soon as you get 24 of them, is to download them. Now, I will be adding the information about where to get these from in the file description that will go underneath the video. If you can't see it all, there should be a button that says show more, so you just click on that and it will show more of what I've written. Now, the other thing you will need, if you want to finish off the same, end up with the same sort of image, is the Google's Nix Collection. Again, this is a free download and it plugs into Affinity Photo, or it can work as a standalone product, but for the point of this tutorial it would be better if it was a plugin. So these are the three things or two things that you will need: the Nix Collection, a Bokeh brush of some description, whether you make your own or whether you download these ones here. So this will be the end of my little introduction. So hopefully once you've got all this bit prepared, you've got your Bokeh brush tips, you've got the Google Nix Collection installed, we can then get on with the tutorial proper. So hopefully you will be able to follow what I'm saying, and a very big thank you goes out to Affinity Tutorials for showing us how to do this particular project. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, let's get started with part one of this conversion of a German tutorial about making a film strip with some images inside the film strip. Before we do jump in though, other than the things which I mentioned in the introduction about things you need to prepare, another good thing to prepare would be finding free images that you want to add into the film strip once we've made it. It might be good if they had a common theme. They don't have to, but it may sort of help blend the images together. And similarly, when we make the background, the colour you pick for the background, you may want to think about what colour will suit your theme. I mean, because if you're doing a hot sunny day type images, you don't necessarily want a cold blue background. You may want a much warmer yellow, red, or whatever. You could even use a textured background, I would imagine, if you don't want to make the same sort of background that we're going to in this image. I mean, the background image is up to you really, so I will leave that in your capable hands as to what colour you decide to use. So let's make a start with a new document. So you come up to File, New. Now I'm going to have the type as print. I'm going to set it on print because that's how I think the original tutorial was. You could probably get away with leaving it on photo, but I'll have it set on print. The units I'm going to set to pixels, and we're going to set a custom size, and we're going to make this 1920 by 1080, and we have a dots per inch setting of 144. Again, I'm guessing this is just to make the end file size a bit smaller, but you could have a higher dots per inch, but again I'm just sort of sticking to the tutorial. So I've got it set on a transparent background, but you can have it without a transparent background, but we're going to put a colour in anyway, so I'll just click OK, and there we have our document size. So now we need to add a layer above this, and we can fill it with white. You can do this in two ways. You could use the rectangle tool and then just draw over the area of the icon image, and then you have that made there. Or I'll just Control and Z to get rid of that. or you can add pixel layer, and then making sure that your white is your fill color. Come to the flood fill tool and just flood fill it. So either way works, whichever one suits what you want to do. So I'll just come off this flood fill tool for now, and moving on to the next bit, which is going to be using the gradient tool, which is this tool which is just below the flood fill tool, and along the top here we have some options. At the moment it's set on none, but I'm going to set it on radial, and it should automatically put a line going from the center to the outside edge. And that gradient, I don't know whether these are the default settings or it's just what happened to be the last time I used it. I really can't remember, but either way we're going to change the colors anyway. So if you put the cursor over one of the ends and click on that, that will be the active one, and now we can change the color. So like I said earlier on, you can pick whichever color you want. I'm going to stick with the red end of the spectrum. Leave it about there, and then click on the other node at the other end and pick a slightly darker color. I might need to just make that middle section slightly lighter, I think. There we go, that's a much lighter red this end and a darker colour on the outside. Now there is the middle marker here where you can click and move it more to the left or more to the right. But I think sort of the midway point is reasonably okay. I mean, if you want it to become darker to lighter, you can. Again, I think you can, in fact you can reverse it up here. There is a button up here that says reverse gradient. You click on that and it will turn it around the other way. So that basically is the background set. Let me just come off of this tool. Okay, so now we have our background set. You could at this point save your work. It's always a good idea to save as often as possible, really, especially in a big project like this. I'm not going to bother at the moment, but I'm suggesting that you do so. So now we want to come to the rectangle tool, and we're going to set black as the foreground colour, and I'm just going to draw a black oblong. At this point it doesn't matter what size it is because we are going to alter the size, and to alter the size you need the transform tab, and then we can add the size in that we want. Now in the W box we want a size of 950, and in the H or height box we want a height of 280. Right, because I clicked in this area here to close the box where I was entering the details, it has come off of that level, so I just want to click and highlight that level again, and what I want to do is to align this center horizontally and vertically. And up here we have the arrange box. You can do this from the arrange menu, or you can do it from this arrange button up here, and I'm going to align it in the center and align it in the middle, so it is now dead center, and then I can come off of that tool just to get rid of the bounding box here. Okay, now I have the rulers running along the top and down the side. I'm going to be dragging out a guideline a bit later, but if you do not have your rulers, you can get them from the view menu and then just click on show rulers and it will make them appear. Or if you don't want them there, you can just click on it again to remove them. So like I said, I'll be using it. I'm only going to use it the once, so that is something that you may want to do now. So the next thing we want to do is to make the openings for the 3 pictures that are going to go into this black box. So with the what is currently named rectangle layer highlighted, click on and add pixel layer, and we are going to draw the grey boxes into this. So we need grey set as your foreground colour. So if you come over to the swatches panel here, one of the drop down menus here is greys. You have colours, gradients and greys, and then just pick the 50% grey colour and come down to the rectangle tool, and again sort of just draw it any size. It doesn't really matter because we're going to change the size again using the transform options, and we're going to make the width 310 and the height 200. Again, when I click off there, we will come off of that layer, so you can just click to highlight it again. So now this time we want to align it again or arrange it. I'm not going to use the button this time, I'll use the arrange menu, and I'm going to come to arrange, align middle I should say, so it will center it this way, top and bottom, inside the black background square. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to come to the move tool, hold down the Alt key, and then click and drag a copy of that over to the right hand side, and again I can come to arrange, align middle, so that will also be at the same height as the first one. So what we now need to do is to move the, what I'm going to do, you can either use the arrow keys, so I'm moving this particular one using the arrow keys, so it's right up to the edge on this side, and I will click the other layer that's just below it to highlight this box, and use the left arrow key on the keyboard to move that over. You could use it by dragging and clicking and dragging, but you may alter the height, the centering that we just done. I think that's about right. So that's, they're right on the edge, but we put them close to the edge because we are going to move them in by the same distance. And to do that, what we need to do is to highlight one of these boxes, and then we will move them in by the same amount of pixels. So I'm going to start with the left hand box. I'm just going to click on it, and to alter this we just need to add or minus 5 pixels on the end of the X axis here, position, You could try and do your maths and add 5 or minus 5, but it's easier just to click once to highlight that area and then click right at the end of the X. And as we are on the left hand side, just type in +5 and press return. Then click on the right hand one, again on the X position, click on the end of the X, and this time it's -5, press return. So both of these boxes are now moved in exactly 5 pixels from one side or the other. So when you got one of these boxes highlighted, if you just hold down the Alt key, click and drag out another version of this grey box here, and then you can come to the arrange options and align center and align middle, and there you have your 3 boxes in the middle of the film strip, and these are the boxes that we are going to add the images into. Now I don't know quite what has got wrong here, and it's gone slightly wrong. I'm not 100% certain where I went slightly. I don't think there's exactly the same gap between these. Maybe I didn't have one of these really close to the edge. Let me click on that box and then I'll just move it over one thing using the arrow key. That looks better. They now all look slightly or pretty much the same distance apart. So this is why I needed to sort of get it really aligned to one edge or the other. So when I moved them in by 5 pixels, they should have all ended up the same distance apart. That is my fault, and I'm very sorry for that. Right, so let's move on. Gloss over the fact I made a mistake. Right. Okay, now what we want to do is to cut these grey boxes out of the black background. So you need to highlight the black background area and hold down the control key and also highlight the 3 rectangles, and then you can come up to layer, geometry, and then subtract, and then this area will now be transparent, as you can see the background through the back. You could, just to test it if you wanted to, I mean on this blank layer that I have here, I could just draw I don't know, a silly shape. Here we go, a grey star, and as it's underneath this here, if I come to the move tool, as you can see in the black areas it's behind and in the red areas it's above, so you can see that that area is transparent. So let me just get rid of this, we don't need that. So now we have our 3 layers. We can now move on to doing pretty much the same thing, but with the holes of the film strip that go along the top. So I'm going to highlight the top area, top layer I should say, and I am going to just zoom in a bit more so that pretty much fills the whole screen. And this is where I'm going to use my guideline, and then to do that I'm just going to click on the ruler and drag a guideline down. I will reposition it later, but for now I will just put it there, and I'm going to make a new pixel layer above this top layer, and it is onto this that I'm going to draw a small square. Grey should still be your foreground colour, and I'm going to come back to, now in the original German video he used rounded rectangle tools, but you could just as easily use the rectangle tool, but sticking with the video I will use the rounded rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw a quick small square and come to the transform option, and I'm going to make it 20 pixels by 23 pixels and press return. And this is where I'm going to come to the move tool, and I'm just going to reposition this slightly. Now you might be tempted to sort of come in this dead center of the top and bottom of this black top bar, but most film strips are not quite that close. The box is slightly nearer to the image that goes in these boxes than it is the outside edge. You don't have to stick to that, you could just put it in the center, that is up to you. I'll just come off that so I can see better how that lines up. I'm just going to nudge it over a couple of times so that that's pretty much lining up with that edge there, and I'm quite happy with the height of where it is, so I'm just going to drag this guideline down until it's on the top there, so I know when I move the next one over I can keep it in alignment. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to highlight that layer again, and I'm going to just fine tune this slightly by making the, I'm not too far off, because what I'm supposed to be making it is 490 by 411.3. So I was pretty much did a pretty good job there. So I'll make that 411.3, and that will just nudge it slightly to that position. And just double check whether I need to just alter the guideline. Now the guideline was in the right position, so I'll just highlight that layer again. And now what I want to do is, with the move tool selected and the first box selected, I'm going to hold down the Alt key, drag out a copy of this grey box here, and I mean we're trying to go near to the guideline at the top, but you can look down at the transform box down here. I'll let go of that, and what I want it to read is 530 in this box, and then this one to still be like it was before, which was 411.3, and then all I need to do now is press Ctrl and J, and it will just keep pressing down Ctrl and J, and it will power copy all those right across the top of that area at the top there. So I can get rid of this guideline now, I don't need it, I can just drag it right back up to the ruler at the top and it will disappear. So all I want to do now is to select all of these boxes, and to do that, the top one is already highlighted. If you come down to the bottom one, which is here, and hold down the shift key and click the bottom one, it will select and highlight all of those layers in between. So as they are all selected, you can see there is a bounding box around the outside. If you hold down the Alt key and drag this down, you'll drag a copy of all of them down to the bottom here. So you just need to position it in pretty much the same position as it was at the top there, the same sort of distance as I had there. And you can use the arrow keys just to nudge it a little bit this way or that. I don't have a transform position for this, I'm afraid. I didn't make a note of it earlier, but I'm currently on an X position of 491 and a Y position of 646. So what I now need to do is do like we did before, and we will cut out these shapes from the black background. So currently, if you come to the top of the stack here, click on the top layer, come down to the bottom, which I asked quite a few of them, and hold down the shift key, click on the bottom one, it will select. And also we need to select the curves layer, so you can again hold down the control key and click those two layers, and then come up to layers, geometry, subtract. So this should reduce you down to, when I've still got this blank layer, I'm going to delete this one. Delete. So this has reduced this all down to 2 layers, the background and this film strip. So now that we have this made and it's all converted into one object, we can resize it now. We just needed it this size so we could use the precise settings to get the things to work as we want them. So I'm going to press Ctrl and 0 just to zoom out, and I'm on the move tool, so you can move it anywhere you like on the screen, or you can hold down the Control key, put the cursor over one of the corners, hold down the Control key and resize it. In fact, let's Control and Z. That might have been better with the Shift key, because I think the Shift key keeps it in proportion. So you can move it to wherever you want. Now I would suggest moving it centered maybe that way, but slightly higher, because we're going to add a reflection to this later. So you want to make room for the reflection of this film strip, but that's a bit later on. I think that's in the second video. So once you're happy with the position of this, I would strongly suggest that you save this as a file that contains all the layer information. So you come to File and then Save As, and navigate to wherever you want to save it to, and name it to whatever you want, but save it as an .af photo file. I've already done that, so I don't need to sort of go through that process, but I would strongly suggest that at this point you save it. So what we now want to do is to start adding your images. I'm assuming that you know how to open images. So open the free images that you want to use. I have done so already with free images I took in Norwich. This being the first one, so I'm going to come to select all, edit, copy, and then come back to the film strip, and I'm going to come to edit and then paste. Now these images will be a lot bigger than the one we've made. I will just zoom out so I can see the bounding box for this image. I'm going to hold down the shift key, reduce it in size, and then press Ctrl and 0 to come back to the full size. And then it's a case of moving it and resizing it. And I'm going to aim this one to be fitting inside the middle film strip here. Now I may have to sort of just distort it slightly to fit inside. So I just want the image just to come over the black part of the film strip just by a little bit. There we go, that's pretty much in the right position. And then what I want to do is to lower this level below the curves level, so I can just click and drag it and keep hold of the button until the image appears again, and then you can let go, and there, that is the first image inside the film strip. So basically it's just a case of repeating the process. Get your next picture, select all, edit, copy, come back to this one, edit, paste, zoom out, and hold down the control key and resize it. And then when you got it roughly in position within the screen, press Ctrl and 0 to bring it back to the full size, and then just carry on moving and resizing till it is once again much like the first one, where you want it to be, and just slightly over the black area. Let me just zoom in a sec so I can just check that that is there. I think that's pretty much okay. And as this one actually has gone already behind the film strip curves layer that's at the top here, that's because I had the pixel one highlighted, so you can automatically put it behind. You can either, if you had had the curves one highlighted, it would have made it on top and you would have to have dragged it down, or if you've got the pixel one, it will make it above the pixel and it will already be behind the curves layer. So all I need now is my last image, which is this one. Select all, edit, copy, come back to this, and then edit, paste, zoom out again, and Control to resize, roughly put it where I want it, Control and 0, and then it's just repeat. I'll just zoom in a bit more. So if I just nudge it up slightly that way, and then just drag it slightly that way. Yes, that will do. I'll press Control and 0. So now I have my 3 images within the film strip. So all you now need to do is to click on the top layer, hold down the Shift key and click on the very bottom image layer, but not on the background pixel layer, and it will highlight all those 4 layers that make up this film strip. And then you can right click the top one and then click group. So now all of these are grouped together, and you could move them around and resize them again. It's up to you, but I'm going to leave that there. So you can now save this again, and if you don't like the images and if they don't work, you can always ungroup them and replace the image with a new image. But this is the end of video 1 of this 3-part videos. So save this again as an AF photo file, and we will use that at the start of video 2. So thank you for watching, and once more thank you to Affinity Tutorials for making the original German version.